Hello everybody, welcome to the video. This is installment number 4 of my wrestling story series thing. Actually, I still don't really know what a good name for this series is. But anyways, okay, so you've heard about how I've gotten into the wrestling business and all the serious shit, right? Well, you probably want to hear something, you know, as far as like an actual story of what happened to me in the wrestling business. I was an independent wrestler mostly. So a lot of my stories involve independent wrestlers, a lot of names that most common wrestling fans just don't know because they never made it to WWE or got on television or were really big on the internet, even though some of them were. So I have to tell a story that involves a wrestling name that at least some people know or some people recognize. So I was in La Crosse because we were wrestling in La Crosse, Rochester, Minnesota, Altura, Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, all that. We were based in La Crosse, and we would go off to all these other towns and cities and work a show and then come back to La Crosse every night, work a show, come back to La Crosse. And we were staying at another wrestler's house at his, I think it was like an apartment. It was like a triplex place there, but it was really cool. It had a gym and everything, so it had everything we needed. It was a nice base, and we often use this guy's house as a base. And of course, all of us wrestlers, all we do is talk about wrestling and spots we want to do and angles we want to do and ideas and whatnot. That's all we do. That's all we talk about. Wrestling, with the invention of the internet and all the terms and all the terminology getting leaked out and whatnot, it's not that exclusive of a club as far as like talking carny and kayfabe and all the words and mark and all that shit. So any kid with an internet connection thinks he knows about wrestling, but at the end of the day, like the real nuts and bolts of it, you don't know until you're in it. So anyways, that's what we do. But sometimes we get bored, right? Well, there's this one wrestler, and I think I mentioned him in the last commentary. His name is Josh Callisto, right? At the time, I think he was still Sledge. I don't know. But anyways, what he would do is he had a video camera, and he would, you know, film our road trips and film interviews and film shows, film himself. He was very smart for his age. He was actually maybe a year or two younger than me in wrestling, but he knew that to make money in independent wrestling, you need to market yourself, because there's no big marketing WWE, WCW machine behind you. So he'd make his own DVDs, his own t-shirts, his own merchandise, which a lot of us did to make money. But to promote himself, he put his shit on the internet, like MySpace. Yeah, that's how long ago this was. He put his shit on MySpace. I don't know if Facebook was around back then, YouTube and all that. So people, you know, even if it was just a handful of people, people got to know him. And, you know, because the hardest part about being an independent wrestler is when you go into an arena and you're the bad guy or you're the good guy, these people never heard of you, so you have, like, the first 60 seconds, you have to get them emotionally involved in you, whether they want to like you and cheer for you or they want to hate you and boo you and hope you lose. That's what makes a good independent wrestler. So anyways, he got bored one day and he says, hey, let's have a wrestling match right here in the living room. Come on, guys. And we're like, yeah, right. And he's like, no, man, come on. So whatever. He sets up his camera and we're like, all right, let's fucking do this, right? So we're like, we get entrance music and we come down the guy's hallway and we're doing our entrances and we're like, yeah, living room wrestling #1. And we called it like living room wrestling, you know? It was kind of like we were making fun of backyard wrestling and shit. We had a couple of other guys off the camera doing commentary, like, you know, oh, he's got him in a sleeper hold and whatnot. And it was me and Josh that were wrestling each other, right? Well, we're wrestling each other and we're acting like, you know, it's a serious match and, you know, we're in full character and full bravado and we're going at it and we're doing moves and we're selling, oh, my arm, my back, whatever. Well, in the middle of the match, remember, we're in this guy's living room. In the middle of the match, Josh pulls out a freaking dildo, like, you know, one of those things, because for some reason, I don't think he ever drove past a sex toy shop that he at least didn't buy something from. We'd be late for shows because he'd be like, oh, truck stop, sex toy shop, blah, blah, blah. And we'd have to go in there and he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna buy this. Like, he'd buy glow-in-the-dark shit, whatever. He wouldn't use it, man. It was just props and I don't know, man. He was a little weird, as most wrestlers are. So he pulls out this fucking dildo and he rams it in my throat, right? And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm like, okay, whatever, right? So I sell it kind of like the Mandible Claw. from Mankind and WWE, and I'm like foaming at them. I was like, ah! And I go down, and whoever the referee was playing the ref, he's like, oh, he's out, stop the match, and the match is over. And like afterwards, like after a couple minutes, we cut to ourselves doing interviews, you know, and I was like, you know, son, Josh Callisto, next time you want to pull out a dildo, it's going straight up your ass, because I bleed for the fans, I bleed for Living Room Wrestling, but next week, when I get you in that living room one more time, I'm gonna make you bleed, you know. And it was like this whole thing, right? He edited it together and like made it seem like it was a legit good match, and it actually was a really good match for two guys in the living room. So anyways, he puts it on MySpace and YouTube and all those other fucking social media sites that were just starting up back then, and they were only like worth thousands of dollars. He puts it all on that, right? Well, this fucking video actually goes semi-viral. Like, most of his videos probably only got like 1,000, 2,000 views each. This shit like jumped to 20,000 views in a week. So all the next week, I'm actually getting calls from other promoters saying, hey, can you come wrestle for us? And I'm like, yeah, sure, man. How'd you hear about me, you know? And they're like, oh, we saw this video of you on the internet. And I'm like, really? I was in a living room. I had a dildo shoved in my mouth. Yeah, man, whatever. But hey, man, it was good. Come on, come wrestle for us. And most of the offers were actually like illegitimate wrestling promotions. My rule is if you have an X in the name of your promotion, I'm not working for you. So anyways, I'm like, whatever. But I did get some work out of it, and it was kind of cool. Well, one day I'm at a show. This is like a month later. I'm at a show, and I think it's in Altura, Minnesota. And on the card is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and you might remember him from the 80s. You know, the guy with the 2x4 and the American flag, and he'd go, "Oh, USA!" and whatnot. And dude, he is the nicest, sweetest man in the world. He really is. He's just a nice, overall good dude. He's a lot like, I guess, Loyal Patriot is to YouTube, is, you know, Jim Duggan is or was to wrestling, because at the end of the day, he's a has-been, and a lot of wrestlers just don't realize when their time is up. But anyways, this is my first time meeting him. I actually ended up working a lot of shows with him later on in the future, and I'm still friends with him to this day. But this is my first time meeting him, right? And as a young superstar, wow, did I just call myself a superstar? As a young worker, you have to show a lot of respect to veterans. So I go up to him, and I shake his hand, and I introduce myself, and he goes, "Oh, it's good to meet you, you know, he's a really nice guy." You know, some wrestlers, some vets, you know, they're not happy to see you, because they're like, why the hell am I working on a card that you're on? You know, who the hell are you? I was the first ever Royal Rumble winner or some shit like that. Hacksaw isn't like that. And I'm literally across from him in the dressing room. It was at a school, and like a high school or a gym or whatever. And we're in the locker rooms, and I'm on one of the benches across from him, and he's just sitting there and whatnot, and guys are coming by and be like, "Hey man, I love that angle you did with Doink the Clown," or "Hey man, whatever." And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's telling stories and whatnot, and it's really awesome with those guys. They tell good stories. I got a lot of Sheik Adnan El Casey stories, a lot of Iron Sheik stories. Oh, when those guys tell a story, oh man, you you remember it forever, and it's funny as hell. But anyways, he's looking at me once in a while. He's just smiling at me and like, you know, whatever. And I'm like, oh, what a nice guy, man. He really makes you feel comfortable, you know. He's just one of the boys. And he finally goes, "Hey, you." And I go, "What?" And I didn't go, "What?" I was like, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Are you that kid on the internet that got the cock shoved in his mouth?" At first, I didn't know what he was talking about, and then all of a sudden, I just turned beet red. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I saw that. And I was like, all right. So Hacksaw Jim Duggan saw my video on the internet. I don't know how to feel about that. So anyways, I wrestle my match, and then I wait around, and he wrestles his match. We weren't wrestling each other. In fact, I've never wrestled him directly, but I've just been on the same show with him. I've wrestled a lot of big superstars or former superstars, and I'll get into that in the future. But anyways, yeah, so same promotion, we wrestle again, and this time it's, I believe, it's not in Altura. Where is it? It's in Minnesota. Fountain City, Altura, Rochester, I can't remember the name of the town. Anyways, we're wrestling in this VFW hall, right? Hacksaw Jim Duggan's there. And once again, this is my second time meeting him, and he probably doesn't remember me, but, you know, like all veteran wrestlers, you go up and you meet them. In fact, it's considered a sign of disrespect if you don't go up to a veteran wrestler and introduce yourself and shake your hand and show them respect. No matter how many times, you could be their best friend. That's what you do. If you don't do that, you're labeled as disrespectful and you don't get taken serious in the wrestling business. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you again. I worked with you on this one show last month or something like that. And he goes, oh yeah, cock breath. Really? You know, and every single show I met with him afterwards, and every time I had went out and had a beer with him after the show, he called me cock breath. And to this day, he calls me cock breath. I haven't spoken with him in about over a year now, probably a year and a half, 2 years. And I'm really hoping that I never speak with him again, because all I am is known as cock breath to him. So yeah, that's my story with Hacksaw Jim Duggan and how he's the nicest guy in wrestling, but sometimes he just has to call me cock breath. Well, if you enjoyed this story, hit the like button, share this with your friends, whatever. I kind of enjoy this little series that I have, and I hope you enjoyed the gameplay that was in the background, and hope you enjoy the story, and I'll see you on number 5. All right, thanks, bye.